Thank you all for joining us this week. Here we're in the home stretch. And I want for us to begin to discuss more about the gift economy and how we're going to actually do this, how we can roll this out. And there's a lot of examples of, let's say, not entire economies, but different individuals who endeavor to make or create ways, creative ways of living without money. And I gave you a lot of homework last week, and there was the 20-year-old video, Pay It Forward, which is a really cute video. And then there was several videos from Helena Norberg Hodge, her Economics of Happiness. And
yeah,
I'm sorry, say again.
oh no, sorry, I'll mute. Vanessa just said, oh, the kids should watch that Pay It Forward.
Oh, okay. It shows you the seedy side of American life. I hadn't watched it for about 20 years and I forgot a lot about it. And, you know, it's interesting what it was showing is that people who are not, let's say, very high on the economic ladder, doing good things for each other and trying to help each other. And it's quite appropriate actually, because generally they find that people who are poor are more compassionate for others than those who are rich. I'll read to you a little thing from, this is from Catherine Austin Fitts. Perhaps you know her name. She's a very prominent speaker about economic affairs. She was Secretary for Housing and Urban Development in the Reagan administration, so that goes back 40 years. But she's a very, very conscious lady. So I read this little thing here, just a couple paragraphs that shows how this works. I had the opportunity to operate at high levels in Washington and Wall Street and have never met a person who did not function as if they were a prisoner of that system. Often, the system did not permit them to function on a lawful basis. This implies highly centralized governance if this many people are functioning in an insecure, limited, or unlawful way. In the summer of 2000, I asked a group of 100 people at a conference of spiritually committed people who would push a red button if it would immediately stop all narcotic trafficking in their neighborhood, state, city, or country. Out of 100 people, 99 said they would not push such a red button. When surveyed, they did not want their mutual funds to go down if the US financial system suddenly stopped attracting an estimated $500 billion to $100 trillion a year in global money laundering. They did not want their government checks jeopardized or their taxes raised because of resulting problems financing the federal government deficit. So there you go, the status quo. When people become comfortable with the system and it works for them, they want to continue the status quo regardless of who is negatively impacted, which is quite a shame. But that's the reality of the world. And it's likely true all over that you know, we think of ourselves first and the others later. So, you know, the interesting thing is the contrast with LaDoc and Helena Norberg Hodge and her speaking about Ladakh, the Economics of Happiness video, and so on, where these people who are living in Sattva, those people are naturally concerned for the welfare of everyone. The question of me first or me only, these are symptoms of Rajagun and Tamagun. And so the real challenge with a gift economy is that most people are not spiritually, emotionally, and mentally prepared to go there. And the question is, what will happen when things become difficult? As I mentioned in the past, I expect that well, not I, but there's a number of economic commentators who are ringing the clarion call that late summer this year, is that recording stopped or started? Is that what that said?
No, it's recording. I don't know what happened there.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so yeah, the financial people, including the head of the biggest Wall Street bank, Jamie Dimon, he said, there's a storm on the horizon, but we don't know if it's just a storm or if it's going to be a Category 5 hurricane. I think he knows, but he's not saying what he knows because it would have an effect immediately. So many people, anyway, they're predicting a big economic crash. And so the question then comes, okay, how are we going to deal with it? In our culture, we're more or less conditioned to thinking of every man for himself, or we take care of ourselves first and others later. But the Ladakh culture is all for one and one for all. So I think there's a much better chance to survive if it's all for one and one for all. But we have to, like I said, many people are not prepared for that. And it's going to be a very challenging time for them to rise to the occasion, for them to be able to share. Just like we see, during Y2K, you probably had the same experience down there, that many people, they were saying, stock food and get guns and ammo. And, this is a typical prepper mentality, and a lot of that's going on now. But I'd rather see that we join together, we take care of each other, instead of, just trying to take care of myself. Ourselves against the world, those are pretty tall odds. But when we have a group that where we've got each other's backs, it's a lot more, let's say the odds are much better. So I'd like to hear some response from any of you, what you thought about either any of the videos that I gave you for homework, or whatever comments you might have at this point in terms of the practical reality of establishing some type of gift economy. So you can raise your hand or unmute and just jump in. Don't be shy, please. You have to unmute if you want to speak. Yes, Haley, I think it was, right?
Yes. Okay, I'll start the ball rolling. I've been in some pretty seriously messed up situations in my life. So I've got two daughters. Now, I have blood, sweat, and tears it to get where I am with the idea that I can create some generational wealth for them, because I don't want them to ever be homeless and all of that sort of thing. I want, I'm quite obsessive when it comes to safety and security in a home and all of that, just because. Like, I am definitely keen to make some moves. I actually intend to sell my house at the end of this year. And I don't exactly know what I'm going to do yet, but how do you balance, like, how do I kind of like secure something for my children, but also collaborate with others?
Okay, of course, I think you need to ask your financial advisor about that. But as we know, the Klaus Schwab and his gang, they plan to change everything. They plan to change all that, and we're going to go to a cryptocurrency where they're going to play the tune, and we all going to have to dance to that tune, whatever they tell us. So again, that's why I wanted to do this course, because we need to have another way of thinking about how we're going to live besides participating in an economy that's controlled by others who do not have our interest in mind. And what that means is that we have to depend on each other, not the government. And historically, traditionally, when things get rough, the government is supposed to be there to help out the citizens, right? That's one of their jobs. But those who are aware right now can see that the game plan has been changed, but they haven't notified us. They've got another agenda, and they're keeping that agenda hidden, except they are telling us we're not going back to the old normal. So exactly what that new normal is, well, it could be what it's 2030, you will own nothing and be happy, right? And it's not your house, so when you leave to go to work, somebody else is going to take over your living room, and they're going to occupy it while you're away. And I want to know if they're obligated to clean up the mess behind themselves before they leave.
Better not cook any meat.
Anybody that has any roommates or just live in a family, we have to put effort into keeping things clean. Anyway,
Yeah.
how's it going to work? We don't know. We don't know how it's going to work. I don't know. I can't at all give you a definitive answer to that. So how are you going to plan for the future? My best advice is you get land, you get some seeds, and you learn how to take care of yourself or with your group.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You got a follow-up for that? If you follow up, otherwise mute.
Okay, I'll give someone else a chance.
Okay. Jenny, hi, what do you have to say, Jenny?
Sorry, I'm just trying to find my video. Here we go. Just put my video on so I'm not impersonal.
Okay, there you are. Nice to see you.
Hare Krishna. It sounds brilliant. I mean, a community of people living in the mode of goodness is just like a dream, isn't it? What kind of size is the ideal model? And is it a matter of having a gift economy as an element, but still somehow we're going to have to negotiate whatever the powers that be will deliver us? or is it the idea of being completely separate from everything?
I wish I had answers to that. Unfortunately, I don't. As far as the optimal size, I can't speak to that. There's this fellow named Dunbar. He calculated the optimum number of people who can live together in a community and be very comfortable and be very happy and secure. And that number is somewhere around 150 to 200. The idea being that when you get above, in that number, you can gradually get to know everybody and know who they are, and everybody has an identity, and everybody has a place in the community. And place means place to take care of the body. Place means a role, an activity that they do to contribute. Place also means proper relationships with others. And if we go to more traditional cultures, we see that there's a social order that's well defined, and people will first, in their interaction with each other, they first want to understand their position so that they can relate to them in a proper way according to the culture. This is true in Japan, I know, and maybe even still to this day, I think so. In the Vedic culture, this is called the Varna and Ashram. So ashram is different stages of life, whether one is a student or retired, middle-aged or working. And then Varna means particular work activity that you do. So when you go above that Dunbar's number, what happens is things become impersonal, the relationships break down, and people begin to act in impersonal ways. That is, if nobody knows who I am, I've got more of a tendency to be irresponsible or to neglect my duties to others and so on. So there's a great deal to be said in terms of keeping things small. There's a wonderful book many, many years ago called Small is Beautiful. And this is an economist from Britain who spent quite a bit of time in India and was observing the culture of India there and understood that everything functioned much better and people were much happier when there was a small scale of both the community and the particular work activity. That means no factories, no mass production, and so on like that. It's a wonderful book to read. If you haven't read it, it'll give you a lot of inspiration in terms of, how a proper society should function, should operate. Also in the Indian culture, they have, when they say, they say acting local. Generally, you'll find that you'll be within an area of 5 or 6 villages. There will be somebody who produce everything that is needed. And so instead of trying to cram everybody into one village, they have 5 separate villages that are within, say, a half a day's travel, either by animal, cart, or walking. And together, those 5 villages, they support each other. But the best answer to that is that things should be kept small so that everything remains personal. Feeling that personal connection, we feel a greater responsibility. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. And sorry, I don't have answers to the other questions. You know, we all have, those are things that we have to solve together. Oh, by the way, this reminds me, in the reminder letter that I sent yesterday, I said that I wanted to create a database for all of you to stay connected with each other if you so choose. And I asked if you wanted to be included in that, for you to send a reply email. I only had 4 replies to that. So if you do want to be included, it's not that you have to participate, but to allow others to know how to get in touch with you, since you've all had this shared experience of this course. So do that. Okay, Barbara, or again, Barbara's husband is?
It's Howie.
Okay, Howie. Hi.
Hi.
Okay.
So yeah, we watched the Economics of Happiness. I couldn't get the other movie, the Pay It Forward. Unfortunately, we tried and it rejected. It said it wasn't available. But anyway, the Economics of Happiness was amazing. We loved it, and it really resonated. The whole keeping it local. To me, that's their way. It's the only way forward, really. And I think what I'm getting from all of this, I mean, the whole gifting thing really appeals. And I've really noticed how every time I use money now, we just use cash, trying to stay, you know, keep that going for as long as we can. But yeah, I just really noticed how I feel about cash now or about money. It just has no real meaning anymore. And yes, we pass it over at the local market or wherever we go to purchase what we need. And that's the other thing I've really noticed, is what we need is just getting less and less. You know, what we think we need anyway. So yeah, so there's a lot of unlearning and unraveling. And what you were just saying about the villages close together. Yeah, that's something that we've been discussing with a group of people that we're looking at land sharing with, is finding groups to come close to us, and so that we can all work together. So that's really all I have to say about it. Yeah, this course has been amazing. It's been a real eye-opener, and it feels really good. I mean, it just feels like the Ladakis. I mean, that just makes my heart sing, just seeing how they were working together and just how far removed we've been from anything like that. So yeah, yeah, great. Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Booty? You're muted. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Barbara. I've been meaning to get in touch with you during the week, actually, and just because we're also, as you know, we're looking for properties, and I thought maybe we could work together. And there's actually about 20 people from Whangarei that registered for this course. So I think it's time we actually got together and had a meeting and actually tried to do something about it practically. But I'll be in touch on that. I just wanted to share with everybody, I know you gave some homework last week to actually do some practical application of the gift economy and do something. So I had some ideas of what I wanted to do, which was something I've actually done before. It was to prepare something and take it to the hospital, actually, and distribute it to the staff, to the nurses and the people there. I've done that in the past, and but I didn't actually do that this week. What I did, it was a very, very small thing, but someone had made some spinach feta pastries, and there was one left over, and I thought, oh well, nobody wants it. I'll put my name on that one. I'll grab that. And then I thought, actually, no, I don't need it. I don't actually need this thing. I'm going to give it away. So I went to the bank. I had no idea who I was going to give it to, but then the woman that came up to help me, I said, look, I've got this spinach and feta pastry. I don't know if you'd like it for, and she was like, oh my God, I didn't bring any lunch today. It's just, and then she was just talking and talking and talking. And then I mentioned to her about the gift economy, and this was, part of our class. She said, oh, yes. And, and then she started talking about the whole gifting thing and how she feels so much better when she gives. And she was taught as a kid to give away. And so it was just a very small thing, but it was a really nice exchange to say that even if you just give a little bit, the reciprocation is so much, like, and the fact that I had said that I didn't know who I was going to give it to, but she was the first person I met, sort of thing, and that it worked out that she said, oh, I didn't bring any lunch today, and I was wondering what I was going to do. So just that kind of synergy was really nice. So I just wanted to share that. It's just this little story.
Yeah, wonderful. You reminded me that I did give the homework assignment of paying it forward to try to do something like that. Now, Barbara, since you couldn't get the video, it is on YouTube. It's pay-per-view. I think you have to pay it in the States here. We have to pay $4. So it should be available. And it's also available. The link I gave was from Amazon videos. They have there. But if you can't see the video, that video spawned an entire movement. And unfortunately, I wasn't tuned into it. There's a Pay It Forward Day globally, which was, I think, the last weekend in April, just after we started. So if I would have been more on top of it, that would have been a nice thing to include. But the idea is to start. In the video, we see this boy who's just comes up with an idea to help people without being asked, and ask them, instead of paying him back, to pay it forward to some other person. And I mentioned that in terms of some have asked me if they how they might reciprocate with me for this course. And so I gave my PayPal address. You can send something if you like. There are some small costs involved, but that's not a big deal. Or if you like, you can also pay it forward. So according to how you feel you've been blessed, you can also bless somebody else. I did this, oh gosh, some 30 years ago. I was really into Hatha Yoga at that time, and I used to give a Hatha Yoga course, and I'd have people sign up for $80 for 8 courses, so $10 a class, $80 for 8 classes. And then when they came to the class, I gave them $10. So if they came to all the classes, they got all their money back. If they didn't make the class, then they didn't get the $10. I get the $10. So, and then I told them that, this class is my gift to you, and, you can reciprocate however you like. And some people were very, that was a little bit far out for them. They just said, keep the money. That's okay. And others gave me some very, very beautiful gifts also. So it's another way of doing things. There was another young man when I was living in Ukraine. He was Aikido. He taught Aikido. And he asked me how to apply gift economy or spiritual economics to his business teaching Aikido. And I said, well, you do it like this. He said, the recommended costs, all the dojos, they charge so much for each course, each class. And if you have it, you can pay it. If you don't have it this week, if you want, you can pay it next week. Or you don't have to pay it at all, but try to reciprocate in some way. And so he started doing that. And he said when after he started applying that, his business tripled over a matter of months, because he got a lot of free press, radio. People were talking about him. He got in the front page of the newspaper and things like this, because it's such an unusual way of going forward. And so there's a lot of this. I'll be sharing more with you in the follow-up email where I give the assignment for next week also. There's a lot of people doing individual things like this. In the States, they have the Burning Man Festival. I don't know if maybe you heard of that. Anyway, some big deal out west, where everything is free. There's no exchange of money of any kind. And a lot of people go just because they want to participate in this gift economy. So, okay, who else? Anybody else have any comments? Does that mean you didn't do the homework?
Junie's got her hand up.
Okay.
I confess I didn't do the homework, but I did have a look at the Pay It Forward website, and they had a system of cards that if you wanted to get into this initiative that they had, that you send away and you get a card. And so when you give the spinach and feta pastry, for example, with it you give the card which explains it's actually a movement.
Wow.
That was what I understood from it anyway, and I thought that was actually a really cool concept, and maybe it's something that we could apply in New Zealand if anybody feels inspired. Then it becomes a very conscious thing, like people recognize, oh, I'm getting a gift here, and now I'm responsible for giving it on to the next person. Yeah, so I just thought that was a really brilliant thing to do, and even anybody could initiate that, just make a nice little template.
Right. You remind me of another fellow. His name is Nipun Mehta, Indian-bodied fellow, out in Berkeley, California, some years ago. They started what was called the Karma Kitchen, and they had one friend who had a restaurant, and it was closed on Sunday, so he made it available to them on Sunday. And it was a very nice restaurant. They had very good cook come in, create nice menu. And then when they would bring the check at the end of the meal, it would say, you owe $0.00. Your meal has been paid for by somebody who's come before you, and if you like, you can leave a donation for those who come later. So that Karma Kitchen's been going on since 2009, I believe. And if you want to volunteer to either bust dishes or wash dishes or do something, cashier, whatever, you have to sign up 2 months in advance, because there's so many people who are eager to give, to find a way to give. And the Karma Kitchen has expanded from Berkeley to many cities throughout the States and other places. When I remember checking up back in around 2012, how many there were at that time. And there's something like 30 or 32 worldwide, and with varying degrees of success. Some places were struggling to keep going, and others, they did quite well, and they were able to expand their activities to spawn other Karma Kitchens. So, and Nipun Mehta and his friends, they also started something like this card thing. I forget exactly what they called it. They were called smile cards. There's a karmakitchen.org website, I believe, and you can get smile cards, and the smile cards operate like this Pay It Forward card, where you do something for somebody and you give them the card, and then they get the idea, oh yeah, let me do this, let me pay this forward to somebody else. So, there's a lot of people who are thinking about ways to do things differently, and we want to also do that. Okay, I want to hear your concerns that you might have for getting this going. Okay, it's nice to come and talk, and we all feel happy, oh, this is nice, but practical, where the rubber meets the road. How are we going to get this going? Haley.
Hey,
Yeah.
Krishna. My heart just started beating when you said that. When you said, "How are we going to get this going?" I like. So I've got a couple of questions. So I'm in Wanganui. There's no Hare Krishnas here. There's a group, right? But how do I say it? Started to get a bit like sinking boat, wobbly wheels, and I understand things work better if you have a foundation. Like you can go back to Shastra, boom, this is the deal, kind of thing. Like it was written thousands of years ago. This is how we're going to do it. But there's no Hare Krishnas here, and there's a couple of meat eaters that I get along with. What do you reckon?
Let me say that everybody that puts tilak on their forehead is not that's not necessarily a sign of being spiritually advanced.
100 agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. So, in other words, you find the complete spectrum from saints to sinners among that population, as in every other population. So, the question is, okay, so how to find your tribe? And, I've mentioned this several times. We have to somehow or other find like-minded people who are in harmony with this idea. And how do you do that besides talking about it and promoting it? So Budi, he's doing his croissant Saturdays on a gift basis. So he's, I wish I was there to participate in that. I don't have any wonderful croissants here to get that. Anyway, we have to find a way to do it. So the question is a challenge of what we will do. It turns the whole economy on its head. What do I want to give to the world? What are my talents? What are my abilities? What do I have to give? And so, it doesn't have to be one thing. It can be a number of things. Volunteering in some capacity, or, even something like in childcare, or, particularly making something. If we're going to get to a full-blown gift economy, this means that we have to shift our entire economic behavior from being consumers to being producers. So what do we want to produce? Okay, now there's some very basic things that everybody needs that we should think about producing. You all live down there by the sea. Can you produce salt from the sea? Sea salt? Everybody needs salt. That's an idea. There's an unlimited supply.
Salt's like $1 a bag or $2 a bag.
So,
Yeah.
how do you do that?
Right, It's quite funny. My daughter just said that to me the other day. She's like, "Mum, we could get salt from the ocean." And I was like, "Why would I do that when it's like $2 a bag?"
Because it may not always be available.
Yeah. Of course, yeah.
You know that in India, the British, they killed millions of people by preventing them from getting salt from the sea. They grew a whole hedgerow of very impenetrable bushes from miles and miles along the sea to prevent the local population from getting the salt that they needed from the sea. And millions of people died because when you're deprived of salt, you don't really feel anything. But in a hot climate like India, you must have salt in your system. And so millions of people just suddenly died. Anyway, so think about necessities. What else is needed? And particularly if you can produce something that everybody needs, wheat. Now, there's a fellow, his name is Gene Stevens. He published a book many, many years ago, How to Grow More Food on Less Land Than You Ever Imagined Possible. And his group would sponsor a wheat growing contest every year to see who could grow the most wheat on a 10-foot by 10-foot area. And the last time I looked at that, the record was something like 100 pounds of wheat. So you don't need a huge amount of land to produce your wheat. Of course, there's a lot of endeavor into preparing the soil properly and so on like that. But so you may not, have yields like that, but you can produce a lot in a very short area. So everybody needs grains, right? We live on grains primarily. That's the major source of our calories. And so how are we going to get grains? Growing vegetables is nice, but growing grains are more important. And so just start experimenting. I was very inspired last week. Krishna Kumari, she's there. She's got a little phone icon there. Last week, she was telling us how she went out begging door to door for land to grow food for the community. And I was so inspired by that. I thought it was a wonderful thing to do, because so many people, they have land that's sitting there that, they don't even think twice about. And certainly somebody would be willing to let you use some of that land to grow food, particularly if it's for the benefit of the entire community. So things like this, we have to become producers and shift our activity to thinking about how are we going to come up with what we need from our own group. Anybody else see the video, pay it forward, or take my little challenge to pay it forward to anybody? And what was the result?
I think Woody's, he's had his hand up for a bit, but I'll go after him if you like.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I didn't see. Yeah, it's heading there. Yeah, go ahead, Barbara.
So I did pay something forward this week. I had a family that I know that the middle child really wanted to play guitar, but they didn't have a guitar at home. So I gave one of my guitars away. I had a couple at home. And I wanted to see the little boy so I could suggest that he pays it forward. But unfortunately, he wasn't home, and I've contacted them. They were thrilled, but I haven't actually had the conversation with him yet. But yeah, so that felt really good.
Nice.
Yeah, it was lovely. I really enjoyed that. So, and I just going back to making things. So I make sort of herbal, like a plant medicine. So I've been gifting that wherever it's needed as well. And yeah, so I think I really love the idea of the card system, just to get the ball rolling for everybody to start getting into that. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, Vanessa's very good with making designs. Maybe she'll be able to come up with some kind of card for everybody. I'm going to volunteer her. Booty, what do you have to say?
Yeah, just in response to Haley, there was a couple of. First of all, if you're struggling finding people down there to work with that are like-minded, move up here. Come sell up and come and join what we're doing up here. We need. I'm pretty desperately trying to, not desperate, but I'm putting a push on to try and get something soon. I think we're running out of time. Basically, it's going to get harder and harder.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to. There's no shortage. Everybody asks me, "Oh, are you looking for land? Are you looking for land?" I've stopped looking for land. There's plenty of land. There's no shortage of land. It's the people that we need. It's the right quality people. And as far as meat eaters are concerned, I've also been down that path. I've got people who are like-minded. They want to be self-sufficient. They want to live off the land. They want to get out of the system. And they've got money. One of them's got $1 million. One of them's got 2 million, and they're ready to go. But the problem is they want to farm animals and use the animals. Their idea of self-sufficiency is to be able to have their own animals that they can eat, and also to make money by selling them. I said, well, that's not self-sufficiency, because what happens when you can't get petrol? You need your bulls to plow. What happens when you can't get fertilizer? You need your cows for the fertilizer. So that's real self-sufficiency, is utilizing them like that. So, but I'm confident there are people out there that don't want to exploit the animals and have money to actually get this thing underway. But yeah, I'm.
Let me, if I might respond to that. People are not modern people have no understanding of the value of the cow and the importance of the cow. Why the cow is, right, the so-called sacred cow of India. It's because everything about that animal is beneficial for human society. First of all, the cow and the bull, these are animals in sattva guna. Just by being in their presence, you can feel they radiate sattva. You calm down, you become peaceful, especially if you're touching them, grooming them, and so on. Their urine is medicinal. The stool is as well. If you get a cut or an abrasion, you put cow stool on it, and it will actually heal, antiseptic. So everything about these animals is good. And if you want to eat the meat, okay, let it die a natural death, and then you can harvest the body for leather and for meat. But then, it's just like this gift economy idea. We're so indoctrinated or acculturated to a different way of living that we don't understand these significant aspects of self-sufficient lifestyle, which the cow and the bull contribute immensely to. You mentioned fertilizer, and now because there's being a fertilizer shortage is being deliberately created, plus Russia is not exporting fertilizer. They're one of the major exporters of the world for that, for chemical fertilizer. And so the farmers are actually saying we're going to have to go back to animal manure, which has been traditionally the thing to maintain the fertility of the soil. Of course, to do that on an industrial scale is challenging, but of course they have industrial scale slaughterhouses where they have feedlots of cow manure, huge hills, which is polluting the local environment. The problem is that the way they try to turn everything into a means of producing money. Okay, when you want money, you're not growing food, you're growing money. and you want to exploit the land. When you want money, you're not milking the cow, you're exploiting the cow. You want her to produce as much as possible. So they found a way, Monsanto, of course, to pump be able to BHT or BST, some hormone into the cow to make them produce. And in any case, the point is that when money enters into the equation, then everything goes towards exploitation instead of protection. And this needs to be understood. We don't need money. Money is created by the powers that be for exploitation of people. It doesn't add, just like we see in Ladakh, it destroyed their culture rather than enhancing it. And so if we need to share our experience and our understanding of these things with other people in order to get it. There's one fellow in India, he is the temple president of ISKCON's Secunderabad temple. He wrote a number of small books, Cow and Man Made for Each Other, several other small books, which are very wonderful. They used to be available online, and you might look for those that you can reprint down there if you can't get it already published. But it's a cultural thing. We don't have the culture, we don't have the understanding of the value of animals. Just like, okay, we'll get into the whole barnyard animals here for a second, right? The chickens, they eat the bugs in the garden. The chicken stool also fertilizes the garden. The pigs, they are the sanitation department. If you've been to India, you'll see that it's not as sanitary there as in the West, and the pigs, they're basically the cleanup department. And it's more than amazing to see that where they're looking for food. It just blows the mind. And the brackish, blackish ditches are snouting around and they're looking for something to eat. But that's their nature. That's what that animal is actually created for. And so just like, your cats, they take care of the mice, and the dogs there, they do the guard duty. They keep the deer out of your field. So all of all of this didn't evolve by chance, but the creation is arranged by the Lord, and it's made perfectly complete. The Isopanishad explains, this world is perfectly complete, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as his phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. And because he is perfect and complete, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains in complete balance. So in other words, there's nothing to add to this creation. It's already complete by itself, but the demonic beings, they don't want to do anything in a natural way. They want to do everything in a very unnatural way, including conception, including birth, and everything else. So, the problem is that those demonic beings, they are basically controlling the world at this time. So again, my take on things is that this society, this modern society, is going to be going down. They're deliberately dismantling it, amazingly. And we have to create a more human, natural, wonderful way to live in the world after. So that's going to be our job. So how are we going to get there from here? It's a what do they call it? An adventure movie, like Indiana Jones, right? you don't know how he's going to get out of this situation, but somehow or other, because he's a hero, he always does. So, although it looks like, this world is coming apart, it's going to be appalling, but the slate needs to be cleaned or cleared so that something wonderful can grow out of it. Okay, I'm sorry, Booty. You have more to say?
Thank you. That was it was nice to hear about the glories of the cow. I was just thinking about the urgency at the moment. I just read, there's so many things that are going on, but I just read that in Brazil and in Spain, they've started introducing cardless and cashless supermarkets. So they have no checkouts. Everything's done through fingerprint or face recognition, and that's hooked up to your account. So you can walk in, get whatever you want, put it in your pockets, put it in your bag, walk out, and it's all scanned, and it comes direct from face recognition. It comes directly out of your account. So that system they're hoping to introduce worldwide before the end of the year.
Yep.
That's what I read. So I mean, once that happens, unless you want to play the game, then you won't be able to shop at the supermarket.
Exactly. And because people have no alternative, they can take advantage of them and turn them into slaves, basically.
Yeah.
The economic history of this world is not a happy one, and they want more, right? They want to exploit everybody to the complete degree. So, yeah, it's coming, and it's coming soon. So we have to join together and create the alternative, or be the solution that you want to see in the world. Be the change that you want to see in the world. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we've had plenty of warning now, so if we don't do something, then it's our own fault. Yeah, we've had plenty of warning. But I mean, 2 days after I read that article, on the front page of the local paper, there was an article about how the New Zealand government had approached a big American supermarket chain and a big Australian supermarket chain to see if they could come to New Zealand, which I found kind of interesting after reading that other article, that they'd approached them. And their reason was to try and get food prices down. But that's a myth. Yeah.
No, in fact, they're, I don't know if you see it there, but they're deliberately creating famine. Of course, Ukraine was a major exporter of wheat. That's not going to be going on. Russia is being very selective where they export their wheat to. And in the United States, something like 20 food processing facilities have gone up in flames mysteriously over just the last month. And of course, with the price of petrol, food coming from 2,000 miles away, which it typically does, is going to cost a lot more. And so they're predicting this fall and winter extreme food shortages and famine in many parts of the world. So stock up. Whatever food you buy today, beans and rice will keep for a long time. You consider it an investment that you'll double your money probably within 6 months. So don't be late on that. Jenny, you still have your hand up. Is there something else you want to say?
Yeah, I just actually wanted to direct it to Budi. What is you said you're not looking for land. I don't know if you want to express it on this forum, but what are the elements that you're needing in order to pursue something in Whangarei?
I'll briefly answer that, but we can have a more discussion privately. But there's plenty of land but it's no point looking at land because we can't get it. We haven't got the funds. So I'm looking for like-minded people that are willing to sell their properties, or they're willing to actually take it seriously. And we've got some funds, but not enough to do anything. So it's no point looking at land until we've got the financial base of a few people that say, yep, let's do this. Let's, sell up our property. I mean, I would sell my property, but I don't want to until we've got something to go to. Otherwise I end up, in a caravan park indefinitely. So if there was one or two other people that were serious about it, then we could do it, and then it would sell up. So that's basically where I'm at.
Okay, something more? Anybody? Okay, I'm going to be giving you some more homework in terms of examples of communities or different people who are acting in ways to either do the gift economy thing, or with voluntary reciprocation, or just a different approach to things. And again, I would like to ask that next week, come prepared to share your ideas, your thoughts, your experience, because talk is one thing, talk is nice. You could even say talk is cheap, but it's going to have to come down to practical action to get this thing going. And particularly for those of you who are close together in some area, you can do that. That's great. For others who are spread out individually, you may be the only one in your area that you think who is thinking like that, but unless you start talking about it, then how are you going to find out others who are interested? So you've got to step out of your comfort zone. And, I think the smile card or the pay it forward card is a great idea. And maybe visit Vanessa. Oh, Vanessa's got a sick child, so she won't be able to do that right away. We can look at the pay it forward website and just use what they've got there. And so everybody can have a look there and find out that card that they're using. Print some out yourself and, go for it. Let's get the ball rolling with this. So anything else? Last thoughts?
Ram's got her hand up.
Rama. Yes.
Hare Krishna, good morning. I just had a wondering about, well, it's related to the gift economy in relation to appreciation of what someone is giving. And I guess I can relate it to my own experience of doing this course. I very much appreciate what you're giving to us, but I have observed that I haven't necessarily taken the homework and everything very as seriously as I would have possibly if I had paid for it. If I'd committed by paying for it, then possibly I would be okay. I'll do the homework and really. Okay. Do you understand what I'm saying?
That I should charge money for a gift economy seminar?
No, I think it's a failing on my side. I think it's possibly a failing that we have or a conditioning maybe that we have in this society, that we're so used to that we don't necessarily appreciate things that are given to us. I was thinking, Woody, with your pie, like obviously she really appreciated it. Sometimes if you give people food, they're sort of like, oh, what's wrong with it? There's a bit of, if you haven't paid for it, and then you may not appreciate things as much. So I'm just sort of wondering about that, and if you had anything to say about that.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Here, I'm in Gainesville, and I joined the Hare Krishna movement here in Gainesville in 1973. And our spiritual master, Bhaktivedanta Swami, came here and spoke on the plaza, a plaza of the university. And it's right by outside the library. It's a kind of a, what do they call it? One of those areas where people are crossing over all the time, And so they, back in 1971, they started distributing free food, or what we call prasadam, or spiritual food there. And when Prabhupada came, he told them, do not ever stop this program, keep this going. And because the weather is mild here all year round, so they've continued to do that. So over the years, the local restaurant owners have become a little agitated that, these Hare Krishnas are giving food away for free on the campus, and, it's cutting out our business, so they wanted the university to shut it down. But it created a huge uproar, so there had to be some compromise found. And so the businesses said, well, okay, at least they have to charge money. Okay. So then they put a sign there, okay, $5 or something like that. It wasn't mandatory. Nobody was looking to see what they put in the box. But when they started doing that, the number of people that were coming for Krishna lunch doubled. So, there's truth to what you say, right? If it's free, people don't take it so seriously if they have to pay. But that's our cultural conditioning, unfortunately. Anyway, in terms of not doing the homework, it's still all there. You still have all the emails, and you can still go back and look at it, and I encourage you to do so, because there's a huge amount to try to understand from this, because economics enters every aspect of our lives. And we're so conditioned by it, we don't think very deeply about it, which is why I ask you to do this homework, which is mostly videos of people with different perspectives and things like that. I also, by the way, this reminds me, I gave you a link to a paper that I wrote called Becoming Wealthy on $2 a Day. Anybody read that? Yeah, okay. Any comments on that? No? Okay. Anyway, that's all right. I hope you like that. That was, I wrote that, if I remember back in 2010 or 12. And it was my effort to put down onto paper my realization of at the time of how money is such a cultural thing. The World Bank, the IMF, they want to help people by making sure they have at least $2 a day of income. And our effort at our little village project was to get our cash demands down to less than $2 a day. We were trying to go the other way. And it was interesting to see how, Barbara, how you said, we find that there's many things that we buy that we don't need. And, oh, yeah, let me see if I can share this. I don't know if I can, oh, yeah, if I can share the screen. There's one very telling graphic. Booty, enable screen sharing for me, please. There's one graphic showing, regardless of how much people make, many of them are living on the edge. So get this. This is both boomers, okay, my generation in white, and the millennials in orange, and even up to making more than 250,000 a year, they're living paycheck to paycheck. Now, is something wrong with that? what does that say? And I remember also reading reports of people being asked, how much money would you need to consider yourself wealthy? And regardless of person's income level, whether it was modest, medium, or even high, everybody generally said that if they had twice as much income as they currently had, they would consider themselves well off or wealthy. So it's an extremely relative thing. We use money so unconsciously, and we can learn to stop using it to our great advantage. So the clock is ticking, everyone. Things are going to change before we want them to. So plant seeds now. I don't know what you're growing seeds now. You're going into winter, but plant something in your apartment. Something. Grow food. Grow something, just so you have the experience of seeing that the good Lord arranges for our sustenance to come right from the earth. It's amazing. You don't have to pay money for it. Just plant the seed. So we should all experience that. And then we see, oh, yeah, you actually see the hand of God in that. I remember the first time I planted a garden, I was just amazed. I was thinking, well, why does anybody work? It's so easy to survive just by growing a little bit of food. And if everybody actually knew that, less people would work. So, okay, any last thoughts before we sign up? Or Jenny, yeah?
Sorry, I've been talking a lot, but
That's okay.
it is like you said at one point, it's disappointing that the numbers of people have dropped off on the course, and that there wasn't, 100 and 200, 1,000 people on the course in the first place. But I have spoken to friends of mine that are and tried to share how much I've appreciated your course. I was just wondering whether you would be able to, on one email, put links to the lectures and to the discussions that you've had or classes you've given, and also any links to things like the Karma Kitchen and Pay It Forward. Is it possible to kind of package that in one thing so we could share it with others that would be interested?
Okay, yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, good idea. Okay, then, thank you very much for your participation, your association. It's unless you were here, I've got nobody to speak to. This is my gift. I'm a ideologue. I think a lot about all these kinds of things, and so this is what I have to give. Ideas, inspiration. I hope you're inspired by your participation, and look forward to seeing you next week. I'll send out the email as soon as possible with the some other homework assignments, which are basically going to be about other people who are doing some kind of gift economy or alternative way of living. Okay, thank you very much. Namaste. Hare Krishna.